Alright, this is John Cole of OKRaw.com. Today we have another exciting episode for you, and this one's going to be like no other. So what we're going to do is we're going to create some cereal, some raw food cereal actually today. And one of my favorite cereals actually that I didn't get to have as a kid because my parents were very strict with us actually as children. We were only allowed to have things like granola and maybe even as bad as Cheerios. We were never able to get like, Trixes for kids and Count Chocula and, all these other sweet sugary cereals, because at least my parents knew at that point that, refined sugar was not good for us, and this is something that I even believe to this date, and I don't believe anybody should be eating refined sugar. That being said, there are ways you can actually taste and have amazing taste sensations without eating refined sugar by simply eating fruit. So what I'm going to be doing in today's episode is I'm going to make from scratch, including the milk, right? One of my favorite cereals that I got to have only when I went to a friend's house, and it was known as Fruit Loops. Fruit Loops. Now, if you look at a box of Fruit Loops, right, it's quite sad that Fruit Loops, it's like artificial everything and corn syrup this and sugar that, and there's no fruit in Fruit Loops. So I'm going to bring back the fruit in Fruit Loops, and of course, the first thing we're going to do to be able to eat the Fruit Loops is to have a milk. Now, I don't recommend cow's milk. In my opinion, dairy is not necessary. And in fact, if you're drinking cow's milk is basically the mammary secretion of an adult-sized female cow that is meant for its calf, for its baby. And it's this milk that is given to the calf that allows the calf to grow up, to be that 2,000-pound mother, right? Literally what milk is, it's baby calf growth hormone to make that little baby calf into a 2,000-pound cow. And, I have lactose intolerance and I don't agree well with milk, and I don't believe people should be drinking milk. Now, yes, if you want to drink milk, raw milk's probably better than pasteurized milk. But even then, I believe we don't need milk, and it will induce a leukocytosis reaction, which is basically activating our immune system when you drink it. If you want to drink milk, drink human milk, or better yet, my favorite milk in the whole wide world is the coconut milk. So we're going to go ahead and first show you guys how to make coconut milk. We're going to need only a few things. We're just going to need a little small knife here, and we're going to cut through one of the eyes. In every coconut, there's 3 holes, and if you look at them closely, 2 of them are the eyes with the eyebrows. They have little ridges, and then one of them is the mouth, and that's the one we're going to take this little small knife, and we're going to pop it through the mouth here. Alright, so I'm very carefully carving out the mouth here, opening this up and cutting through the coconut meat that's on the inside. And one of the things I want you guys to be aware of is the noise the coconut's going to make when you pierce the coconut meat and go all the way inside. So listen carefully here. Alright, you hear that? It went psst. And that's a good sign. You always want to hear this when you're opening a coconut, because if you do not hear that, that means the coconut has been infiltrated by the evil enemy. Well, actually it's been infiltrated by air, and there's no longer a hermetic seal, whatever that word is. But you don't want to use it because bacteria could have got in there, mold could have got in there, and other funky things could have got in there. And so it's good that I heard that, nice airtight seal. I mean, we don't need jars or cans of coffee to get that seal. All we need is coconuts, nature's food, naturally sealed by the coconut palm. All right, so we're going to go ahead and cut this hole a bit larger, and then we're going to pour our coconut water out. All right, so now we're going to pour the coconut water out, and I want to let you guys know that the coconut water pouring out here, this is not coconut milk. This is coconut water. The coconut water is the water contained inside the coconut. Now I prefer the young coconut water. Here we have a more mature coconut water, maybe not as tasty. But why we need to drain the water out is because we're going to make a milk, and what the milk is, it's the coconut water combined with the coconut meat. And so we're going to go ahead and wait for all this coconut water to drain out. Alright, so it looks like my coconut water is all drained out of the coconut. We're going to go ahead and set that aside. Now we need to get this guy open. So you could just like slam it on the ground and break it in a million pieces. What we're trying to do is get out the coconut meat on the inside. I prefer a more civilized method, just a standard chef's knife. I prefer a meat cleaver if I had that. Basically what you're going to do is you're going to tap it around the equator of the nut. The North Pole is the eyes, the South Pole is the bottom butt end, and you're just basically going to tap and turn it. So we're going to take the thick end of a chef's knife here and just tap it right on the equator and then spin it. And there we go. As you guys can see, easily opened into 2 easy halves. We're going to take a look at the meat. Smell the meat on the inside, looks all good. That means our coconut water is good to use. And now I need to dig out the meat. So there is a coconut demeating tool available at youngcoconuts.com. I don't happen to have that today, so I'm going to use just a knife. Be very careful when trying to dig out the coconut meat with a knife. It's not the right tool, and you know, you may cut yourself. So I'm going to go ahead and do that right now. Alright, so as you guys can see, I'm getting chunks of coconut off. Now the main thing is when you're checking the coconut and you get the chunks out, you want to look at this back end. You know, some of the brown stuff on the back side is alright, but if it's like black, you know, then it's not good. In between the little testa or the brown part and the white coconut meat, it may sometimes get moldy, so you're going to want to inspect that carefully. Sometimes I take a knife to shave off, you know, to inspect it more, but in this case it looks alright. So we're going to go ahead and put the meat into our NutriBullet blender jar. What we're going to do is we're going to blend the coconut water with the coconut meat to basically make a mixture of the water and the meat, which is going to make a nice thick, basically fiber-rich milk, in which then we're going to have to remove the fiber using the juicer, or you could use a nut milk bag. Let's see, we're going to go ahead and put some of this meat in there. Now, you could just use coconut water, but I'm adding the meat because the meat adds the oil content, the medium chain fatty acids, which are so delicious, and they're going to give us that nice texture of a real milk. Alright, looks like I got to get the last bit of this coconut out. Alright, looks like we got all that coconut meat out. Now simply what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and blend the coconut meat with the coconut water. Normally I like to do this in a Vitamix or a high power blender. It's going to really be able to fractionate and grind up the meat, extracting the delicious oil, including medium chain fatty acids, into the water. Today we got the NutriBullet, which is a toy compared to the Vitamix. Alright, looks like it's blended up fairly well. We got this mixture here. What we're going to do next is we're going to go ahead and unscrew the extractor blades on the NutriBullet. And we got our rich, delicious coconut milk, but there's a lot of fiber in here, not going to taste good. So we're going to take my favorite juicer, one of them anyways, the cravings whole slow juicer. Turn this puppy on and pour the milk through the juicer. And when we do that, one thing will happen. The delicious milk, look at that, man, nice and creamy, just like milk should, even with some bubbles there. It's going to fall out one side, and now the other side, all the fiber is going to be ejected out, so it will not be in our delicious milk. So it looks like this milk's about done. We're going to go ahead and turn this baby off, close the little stopper flap there, and check out this milk here. I'm going to pour this out for you guys and show you guys the consistency. Look at this. No fiber, no pulp, nice, delicious coconut milk. Man, that stuff looks really good. Alright, we're going to go ahead and try a little bit, let you guys know what it tastes like. Oh my God, that must be the best coconut milk I've ever tasted. Now, I can taste the richness, the fattiness, and it's even a little tad sweet, you know what? But I want to take this coconut milk to the next level. Because, you know, as you guys know, if you had the Fruit Loops cereal, it's overly sweet. I mean, like, the second ingredient probably is like corn syrup or sugar. So we're going to go ahead and sweeten the milk up with simply a fruit. And what we're going to use today is this stuff called the Sugar Vita. And this is a low GI, rich in B vitamins, organic and unrefined, the most nutritious natural sweetener on the planet. And this is derived from basically Palmyra jaggery or Palmyra palm fruit. And it's basically like a fruit powder. We're just going to go ahead and just put a little bit in there. Now the cool thing about this Sugar Vita fruit powder is that it actually contains B12 according to the manufacturer. It says 1 teaspoon of Sugar Vita is 12% of your daily B12 requirement. So, you know, it's rare to find plant-based foods that have B12, and if these claims are true, that's amazing. Just yet another reason why I'm putting it into my milk today. We're going to go ahead and screw on the extractor blades on the NutriBullet, and we're going to go ahead and just quickly blend up the Sugar Vita into the coconut milk. All right, here it is. I'm going to go ahead and sample this guy up for you now. Wow, even more coconut creamy and richness and even a sweetness. I think this milk is lonely for the Fruit Loops that we'll be making next. So now that I got my milk all made, now we're gonna get ready for the Fruit Loops made out of 100% fruit. No, this is not fresh fruit, and no, this is not even dried fruit. This is freeze-dried fruit, and if actually you take a look at some of those packaged cereal products, you know, they contain small amounts of freeze-dried fruit to give you that extra added boost, that crunch, you know, that you can't normally get in raw foods. So what I've done is I've gone out to my local Trader Joe's. Trader Joe's has a lot of cool, unique foods. Not a lot of them are healthy, but here's one of them. They have freeze-dried fruit. So we have a mixture of freeze-dried fruit here on the table. We got the freeze-dried raspberries, freeze-dried mango, freeze-dried blueberries, freeze-dried cranberries, freeze-dried banana, and of course the freeze-dried cherries. And this is going to make up our Fruit Loops cereal. So first, let's go ahead and maybe grab these freeze-dried blueberries. We're going to go ahead and rip this bag open. Going to take our cereal bowl there, and we're just going to pour some of these blueberries in the bowl. Look at that. All right. We got some blueberries in there. Next, we're going to go ahead and go for some cranberries. Now, cranberries can be a bit tart, but I figured add to the recipe because of their, you know, unique flavor. And we're not going to put a ton of these guys in there, but just a few. So there's some cranberries. Look at that, man. They look so nice and plump and delicious. Next, we're going to go for the raspberries. Now, freeze drying, basically what they do is they take the fruit, they freeze it, and then they suck out with a vacuum all the moisture. That's how they get freeze-dried fruit. So this is closest to being fresh as possible in a dried form. I prefer freeze-dried fruit over standard conventional, you know, dried fruit or sun-dried fruit. Right, we got some raspberries in there. Next, I think we're going to go for some strawberries. Up until this point, I'm really not putting a lot of these guys in there. I'm just kind of putting a mixture and a sampling in. Oh wow, look at these strawberries. Nice, beautiful pieces there. I'm going to shove that in. Now, be careful. Inside all the freeze-dried fruits are these packets that say, do not eat. And so make sure that doesn't go in your food too. It's basically a silica gel that basically absorbs all the moisture. If you do get the freeze-dried fruit, you're going to want to eat them fast, and they're probably not going to last long in your house like they don't last long in mine. And if you're going to save them, you know, you need to make sure you have a nice seal on it, because the freeze-dried fruit, if you leave it just in open air without the seal sealed all the way, it's going to rehydrate, and then it's not going to taste as nice and crispy and crunchy, that taste we're looking for. Now, as you guys can see, we got our mixture here. We got the blueberries, the raspberries, the snozzleberries, just kidding, the cranberries in here, and this is our cereal. The next two things we're going to use are the mangoes and the bananas. So I'm going to put the mostly bananas and the mangoes in the mixture. This is going to give us the body and also some of the sweetness. Now on the bananas, you know, the bananas are literally banana chips. They're actually quite large, so that's not going to be too good for our cereal. I'm going to chop up a good portion of these bananas to add to my cereal, so it'll be a good, solid, fruity base. All right, last banana, cut into fourths there. This is gonna make our main base. As you guys can see, this is what it looks like. And I like the color on this, so that's why I'm putting the majority of the bananas on here. Plus the bananas have a nice, you know, more neutral, mellow flavor than some of the berries. Also, you know, the banana, freeze-dried bananas are actually cheaper than some of the other fruits. Now, you're not gonna wanna waste any of this little powder stuff that's coming off. I mean, this stuff, man, this is just like literally banana fruit powder, freeze-dried, so delicious. Now, one of the reasons why this is gonna work is because the texture. Let me go ahead and rip this bag open of mangoes. The texture that makes this work so well. I mean, look at these. These look like oversized French fries, right? Look at watch this. Listen. Man, this is like me on crack. I am Cornholio. Yeah. All right, no, seriously though, this stuff is so good. Like if you're traveling, this is the next best thing, you know, instead of fresh fruit. Although I always recommend fresh fruits because freshest is bestest. But man, so good. One bag of this stuff, 190 calories, man. And it took 10 ounces of fresh mango just to make a mere 1.7 ounces of freeze-dried mango. So this is very concentrated. All right, so much like the bananas, we're gonna go ahead and take out some of these mango pieces and chop these guys up into my cereal. So I'll probably just take the mango, and because they are long, I'll probably just chop them up into about equidistant pieces. Try to get large pieces instead of fracturing them into much smaller pieces. I am using a nice sharp ceramic knife to do this. Otherwise it might just make into a powder or a dust. And it's very important to me, you know, in raw foods, one of the things I really like to do is I like to really keep a texture of the foods instead of just having a mush. You know, oftentimes when you're eating fruits, you know, especially if they're ripe, you're eating like mush. And that's cool, you know, I love eating fresh fruits and all. But, you know, I think part of the whole thing and what really makes this recipe work and why we like, you know, those foods that we had as a kid, like the cereals and whatnot, because they're crunchy, because they're cooked, right? And in raw foods, you don't get that same texture, you know, that you can get when you start cooking stuff, right? Except in the freeze-dried stuff, because even in regular dried fruits, right, it's more of a chewy consistency and not this nice crunchy texture. And so you got to get the freeze-dried fruit. I've tried all kinds of freeze-dried fruit. I've tried freeze-dried rambutans, freeze-dried mangosteens, freeze-dried jackfruit. That's off the hook, man. Freeze-dried durians. I mean, I think they should like freeze-dry every different kind of fruit and offer it. One of the cool things that I'm looking forward to, probably within about the next year, is that they're now coming out with home freeze-drying machines. So instead of being slave to Trader Joe's and having to buy your own freeze-dried fruits, you'll now be able to make your own freeze-dried fruit at home, and look for this hopefully within a year. Available at discountjuicers.com. I'm going to get a sample unit here hopefully pretty soon and make videos about it and actually start to offer it to you guys. And that's going to be truly insane, all the different things I'll be able to freeze-dry, create new textures, preserve my food more effectively, and be able to spread the knowledge of eating more fruits and vegetables. However way you enjoy. All right, so we're just about done cutting up all these mangoes. So I think we had probably mostly bananas and mostly mangoes. I put a lot of blueberries in because I like blueberries a lot. And then we put probably the strawberries as the next most ingredient, and then followed by some raspberries, add a little bit of tartness in there, and then followed by just a few cranberries. All right, so here's the mangoes going into our cereal bowl. All right, got all the mangoes in there. Now, next thing, of course, in our cereal bowl, we got to mix up the cereal. Mix the bananas with the mangoes, with the berries, strawberries. Man, look at that. That looks so cool. You could probably just eat this stuff dried like a trail mix. But no. Would not be a cereal without the milk. So I'm going to go ahead and mix this guy up pretty well. We're going to go ahead and add the milk and try it for you guys. Just about done mixing up my Fruit Loops there. Look at that, man. That looks so delicious. I'm gonna go ahead and try it dry. I mean, as a kid, I used to eat dried cereal out the box. This is probably better than any cereal you could eat. Mmm. Nice and crunchy. Got a cranberry in there. Ooh, give you a shot of flavor there. But cereal would not be cereal without milk. So now we're gonna go ahead and add the milk that I made a little bit earlier. All right, check it out. Cereal and the milk. And I want to remind you guys, this is 100% fruit, baby. Look at that. Yeah. Yeah, fruit and the milk. This is going to be so delicious. All right, now we got to get all this stuff to sink just like the regular cereal, right? In the cereal, you always wanted your cereal to sink to the bottom. This stuff's trying to float, man. Get down there. I want you to absorb the delicious milk goodness. All right, check it out. There's our Fruit Loops there, all in the milk. Look at that. Looks delicious. Oh my God, it's insane. It's so sweet. The milk tastes like milk. The milk is even sweet. I mean, and think about this. This is only made with 8 fruits. Well, we got 6 freeze-dried fruits, yes, and we got 2 palm fruits. The coconut palm and the Chimera palm fruits in the Sugar Vita to make a delicious and natural and healthy Fruit Loop cereal substitute. This is one cereal that I could definitely recommend that you guys start your day off with. Of course, I don't make this every day. This is the first time I've made this because I was inspired to share this recipe with you guys, because I know many of you guys still to this day eat cereal, whether vegan cereal, non-vegan cereal, whatever. I want to always encourage you guys to eat more fruits. And by making this raw Fruit Loop cereal out of 100% fruit, you can do just that. Of course, most of my breakfasts are just 100% fresh fruit these days. And I want to encourage you guys to eat fresh fruit whenever you can. Although if you got kids, I guarantee that they will absolutely love this. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode learning how to make 100% Fruit Loops out of raw fruits. Once again, my name is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. We'll see you next time, and until then, keep eating your fresh fruits and vegetables. They're always the best. Aloha, this is John Kohler with OKRaw.com. Today I have another exciting episode for you, and this episode is about one of my favorite foods in the whole wide world. Like they always ask you, if you're on a desert island, what one food would you